East and West come together in Port of Spain's markets where ingredients from Europe, Africa, and the Indian subcontinent show up on vendors' tables. Asian vegetables like long beans and bitter melon turn up on the other side of the world next to cassava and arrowroot, more typical of the region. Culantro turns up, but here it is known as benni or chardon benit, a corruption of the French chardon benit or blessed thistle. It is a part of the green seasoning that is a Trinidad and Tobago culinary basic. In the market, the smoked herring and saltfish that season some of the Indian-inflected dishes are sold next to pickled pig snouts and tails that hark back to the diets of the enslaved. Brightly hued condiments prepared from shaved mango, mustard oil, and hot chilies vie for primacy next to dishes tinged yellow with Madras curry powder. Chef Debra's Sardinha-Metivier gives us our first look at the diversity of the Trinidadian market basket and a peek at some of the island sweets.
And here we have a lovely variety of some of the items. Yeah. So for the beginning, let's start with this. This is called sim, which is a really nice bean that you just basically take and you want to peel away. So we're peeling away that little tough membrane. Right. Then it just cut it up and saute it up nicely with some garlic and onions, or you can do a very light curry, Madras curry style, right? Okay. And as you called it, long beans, and for us it's bodi. Right? So this again, you look for the young one. So these are nice and young bodi, and basically just cut it up and again sauteed with some garlic and onions as a side, or if you can put some jeera or cumin in it, as we call it, and we could also curry it. And of course our callaloo bush or dasheen leaves that give you a really nice sahina when we basically put the split pea spread, and then it's basically rolled, cut and fried, and we're going to see that in a little while at some of the stalls. And of course shadow benni, which really gives a really nice flavor to a lot of the to a lot of the Indian chutneys and whatnot, and actually in the stews, because it cooks well in the stews, it gives a really nice balance to the flavors. So this, and then of course our local celery and side. We call it flavoring pepper here because it gives flavor without heat. Gives a really nice balance. And so on. It's not 100% sweet, but you sometimes, depending on the heat of the sun, etc., you will get a little kick, as we say, but it's not like the Scotch Bonnet. You're not going to get that heat. Sometimes when they cross, you will, but primarily it's just good for flavoring the pot, giving a really good balance. Of course, ginger a lot is used, and turmeric, yes, gives that nice color, that fresh turmeric to be used in the curries.
So with this, when you're using this, do you want to use like kind of a variety of colors because of different levels of flavor or heat? Maybe
you can. The red tends to be a little bit more intense in terms of that. Okay. Green a little bit more subtle, obviously, and sometimes you just use it for the flavor in terms of the color. Sorry, use it in red because you want that pop of color in your stews, etc. If we're doing like a pickled green fig sauce, or like a pickled green fig where we boil the green banana, we add the limes, and we would add a little bit of this, I may want to use red if I want a pop of contrast, or I may want to use green if I don't want the contrast to happen. So this tends to lend itself in the Trinbago cuisine, I would say. This is definitely a staple in the stews and in most of the cooking. This is definitely
I gotta
must-have.
Learn all these new food terms again. I know what they are, but now all of a sudden it's all different names. So.
Yeah, this is a must-have.
Ask anyone in Port of Spain what chef is working on the creolization or mixing of Trinidadian food, and Chef Khalid Mohammed's name comes up. His restaurants, Chaud, and especially Chaud Creole, present food that plays with Trinidadian traditions and ingredients in new ways. In Port of Spain's main market, Chef Mohammed gives us a first look at the wide array of condiments that season the nation's plates.
And then here we have the pimento pepper, which we spoke about before. We use this in everything. It's no heat. There's a time of the year when they say the pepper has crossed, when the pimento has crossed with the hot pepper, and they get a little spicy. But in general, it's more flavoring than a spice. And we have, of course, our Scotch Bonnets here, which are very hot. Because in Trinidad, we call this hot pepper. That's the name of it, hot pepper. You know, the Scotch Bonnet or habanero does not exist in Trinidad. So growing up, this is a hot pepper. This is a pimento pepper. Yeah. And they're different ones. They're the little round ones. We have the small bird peppers as well. But the typical pepper you see every day is this pepper. This is what we cook with most of all, you know. We call it shadow benni in Trinidad. Shadow benni. This is also called culantro. It's similar to cilantro in flavor, except it's much stronger, has a bitter flavor. But this is like, this is the most important herb in Trinidad by far. This goes into everything, you know. It's in everything, from raw salads to all our stews, everything. And you know, and it represents in both Creole cuisine and Indian cuisine. It's just as important in every aspect of Trinidadian food. Here we have salted pig's nose, salted beef, pig's tail, saltfish, smoked herrings. You know, we use the salted meats primarily to flavor things like beans and stews and rice. We add it to, you know, to add that flavor. The smoked herring saltfish we tend to use for breakfast items, where for the smoked herring we'll roast it and then take the skin off, get out the meat, and we'd add stuff like tomatoes and sweet peppers, hot peppers, and make like a bit of a salad. We call it buljol, which is more buljol. We also buljol. We also do it same preparation with saltfish or salt cod, bacalao, and except this time we'd soak it. We'd soak it overnight, and then we'd simmer it, take it out just to get out the extra salt and to rehydrate it a bit. And then at that point we do lots of tomatoes, peppers, pimentos, herbs. It's from the Portuguese influence though. That's a strong Portuguese influence dish, you know, and it's a typical breakfast. So a lot of here is the real typical seasoning in Trinidad. We have this we call saive, which is green onion or scallion, and it comes in a bundle with thyme and parsley. We also have what we call the Malay mix. The Malay mix is a thyme that we call broadleaf thyme, which is this, very flavorful, and also a type of oregano. And then we have like just thyme, shadow benni, which is, as we said, very important to local cuisine. We call this celery in Trinidad. I think it's also called Chinese parsley. It does have a strong celery flavor. And this also, what we do really a lot in Trinidad is we take all these seasonings and we puree it, and we make something called green seasoning, and that's kind of the flavor base for everything. In Trinidad we use it for everything. So we're probably gonna get some stuff and demo a green seasoning. This is green seasoning, so you can actually buy it made already. I mean, we sell this in the supermarkets, you know. So this we'd use to pre-marinate chicken, fish, beef, pork, whatever, everything. So this will have saive, cilantro, shadow benni, celery, thyme, garlic, vinegar, water, ginger, pimentos, hot pepper.
Everything.
Everything. Everything.